Oh, Dougie Cifu, the liquidity fairy. What have you done now? Aside from run your company into the ground, naked shorting stocks that have ridiculous momentum. Folks, I'm going to give everybody just a chance to join. Fact of the matter is, though, Doug Cifu has been forced to retire for being a complete, utter piece of shit, being accused of stealing $400 million, saying anti Semitic, racist, uh, sexist, just straight up garbage things to retail investors. I can't even believe that he was allowed to continue as the CEO of Virtu Financial this far or this long. He helped co-found the company and is such a complete piece of garbage human being that the fact that he's even still up until today was the CEO of Virtu is just astounding to me. Just astounding. What's going on, folks? I'm giving everyone just a chance to hop in here since the live stream is impromptu. I didn't tell anybody about it. We just found out about this news shortly, just moments ago, I should say. Yeah, this guy is a real class act. The NHL and Florida Panthers left his name off the engraving of the Stanley Cup due to him being a completely garbage human being and saying, I can't even say this. Like, I'm not even going to say it. I mean, I could, but I'd probably be demonetized and have the video shadow banned on every single different social media that we're on right now. We're on YouTube, Rumble, X, TikTok, and LinkedIn, etc., Facebook, and I do not want to get this shut down. So I won't even say it, but you can read it on the screen right now. What Dougie Large, the man with the tiny fingers, likes to say. This fucking fat, pudgy, short piece of shit human being, sad excuse for a person. Everlong Gaming says, I hope you enjoyed being a bottom, Doug. This is fucking phenomenal. This ain't even the best of it, guys. Come on, check this out, ladies and gentlemen. So today we found out Doug Cifu's forced to retire as the Virtu Financial CEO. You can see what he said. It's on my screen. I can't even read it. I don't even know what to say, I can't even say anything about that. But Florida Panthers vice chair and minority owner Doug Cifu's name was not among the 53 people from the organization engraved on the Stanley Cup after the club won their second consecutive title. This comes after Cifu was suspended in May after a profane social media exchange echoing President Donald Trump's call for Canada to become the 51st state and making politically charged statements about the Israel-Palestine war. There you go, folks. If you can't read it for yourself, I think you can imagine what he said. But yeah, that is the kind of human being that we're dealing with. Not to mention, that is the least of his transgressions here. A pension fund is accusing Viola partner Cifu of stealing 400 million owed to investors in Virtu Financial. And Kristen Shaughnessy here says pension fund accuses Panthers owner Viola, partner Cifu, of stealing. So the Panthers owner Viola and the partner Doug Cifu, both owners in the Florida Panthers, of stealing $400 million owed to investors in Virtu Financial. So there was an 84-page complaint filed January 24th in Delaware's Chancery Court, where Virtu was incorporated in 2013 following an earlier suit by the pension fund that asks a judge to force Virtu to turn over its books and records for it to investigate suspicions of apparent wrongdoing. And the complaint contains a lot of new information about how the company is run and how Viola and his cronies allegedly profited at the expense of those who bought Virtu's publicly traded Class A shares. These are the people that we're dealing with here in a lot of these financial markets, sadly. So the fact that he's being forced to retire is definitely a fuck around and find out situation. Hey, Bernie says, hey, Butcher, I was able to invest in a lit exchange, my dude. Welcome, my friend. You are now a founder, a partner in Lit Exchange. Congratulations on that, my friend. Cheers. Doug Cifu is not having a good year, says Stephanie on Twitter. And we're going to look at what everybody said here on Twitter because holy shit, are they tearing him a new a-hole as if being a bottom didn't already have him torn a massive a-hole as it is. She said, first he's suspended indefinitely by the Florida Panthers. And now he is retiring from Virtu Financial, or is he just being replaced? Obviously, he's being replaced. The man is 59 years old. There has been one mistake after another with this guy, from talking shit about retail investors, talking shit about your grandma and your children, to stealing allegedly $400 million from pension funds and money owed to investors of Virtu Financial, to disgusting racist statements online. I think I'll just leave it there. But here, let's hear what this guy has to say, because he is a piece of work.
And his 200 shares on NASDAQ in New York, we fill out 1,000 shares at that inside price. That's meaningful liquidity. 55% of the orders that we received, Bob, we provide size improvement. In a complete, as he calls it, an auction environment, who's going to provide that? The liquidity fairy? I mean,
who's going to provide that? We provide liquidity when none exists. Doug Cifu of Virtu Financial, the market-making firm, is basically saying that when there are no shares, we give you synthetic shares. We create phantom shares by reaching up into thin air and grabbing them and giving you something out of nothing. I grab nothing out of thin air, and your shares are here, delivered to your account. But how can those shares actually be real? They're not. They're synthetic shares. They're fake. They're ones and zeros in your account. Later, Doug Cifu and company have 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 35 days plus to go out and fetch those shares at a better price. Front run your trade. Give you something they don't have. Sell short a stock of which they have no shares using market maker exemption rule 203BI, also known as the Bernie Madoff exemption. These are who the people that we're dealing with. And this is sadly a legal gray area. A big part of why we started creating Lit Exchange 4 years ago. Check it out. LitExchange.com. Links over on the side right now. You can become a founder for the first and last time ever. The Founders Investment Program ends August 9th, in about a week. And at that point, nobody will be able to invest in the company moving forward. But before I move on to President Trump absolutely railing Nancy Pelosi, looks like she's about to be investigated, let me read what George Palikaris, former CEO and founder of MMAT Metamaterials, said, because he rips apart this guy. After 2 decades of efficiently intermediating between you and the price you actually deserved, the great Doug Cifu is retiring as CEO of Virtu Financial, aged 59. You may already guess what that means. Yes, that Dougie, the one who called Virtu a liquidity provider while internalizing your trades in a proprietary warehouse dark pool. And in case you didn't know, folks, a dark pool is where your orders go to die, to be suppressed, so the stock that you're buying or selling does not actually change in price in the way that it should. Lit Exchange fixes this. Doug Cifu, who built a high-frequency toll booth and called it innovation, was blessed by FINRA. Why would that be? Probably because FINRA is comprised of people that sit... the board of FINRA is comprised of people from Citadel, from Virtu, from Goldman Sachs, etc. You get the point here, right? Chase, Bank of America, these are the people who sit on the board of FINRA and make the decisions. So they can give each other a pat on the back, a high five, and say, yeah, payment for order flow. No problem. Steal from whoever you want. Yeah, you get to increase the bid-ask spread and steal off the top and front-run trades That sounds like a great idea. Just don't let us catching you doing it, so we'll just look this way. You just do it over here. We're just going to look that way and pretend we don't see anything. Doug Cifu, who taught the next generation that speed is transparency and market making is charity. Now he's handing the reins to Aaron Simons, a theoretical physicist. Because what better training for transparent markets than mastering how to bend time, space, and retail execution quality, and at the speed of nanoseconds per trade, but only for high-frequency traders. Did you get any ideas, retail? Are you beginning to understand? Virtu says in its press release that its strategic direction is clear. How comforting. Because for years, the only thing clear was the queue jumping, the line jumping, hidden venues, the dark pools, and the cozy regulator friendships who only ever managed to flick the lights on just long enough to issue a slap on the wrist before retreating back into the dark. Happy retirement, Dougie. You brought speed, complexity, and a new religion of, quote, liquidity to Wall Street. The markets may never recover from all the price improvements you promised. May your next chapter be as opaque and latency sensitive as your legacy. That's fucking awesome. By the way, Virtu Financial and Citadel, have you responded yet to the MMAT trustees' subpoena? Or is that still stuck in a high-frequency routing loop? You fucking clown. I'm paraphrasing, right? Disclaimer, this content is for entertainment and commentary purposes only. No fairy dust, trading signals, or regulatory confessions were harmed in the making of this post. All opinions are satirical and should not be interpreted as financial advice, legal opinion, or an invitation to execute in dark pools. Look, Ma, the market's broken. Just kidding. Doug turned the liquidity fairy back on. Of course, when Virtu Financial stock started crashing, how did all this magical buying begin out of nowhere? Virtu, because who needs price discovery when you have an algorithm and a wand? Darkpool Chronicles, hashtag Darkpool Chronicles. This guy. Absolutely fantastic, George. I love this post. It made me laugh so much. The first time that I read it, I absolutely love it. It's so chock full of, like somebody said, innuendo and just puns that are very easy to understand if you've been following this situation for a while. And if you're just joining, watch this. Here's a liquidity fairy at work.
And there's 200 shares on NASDAQ in New York. We fill out 1,000 shares at that inside price. That's meaningful liquidity. 55% of the orders that we received, Bob, we provide size improvement.
We're internalizing the trades. We're providing size improvement by giving you shares out of thin air. And then we fail to deliver on them. And that's profitable for us as Virtu Financial, the liquidity fairy. So do me a favor, if you guys feel like mentioning anything here in the Discord, if you want to say anything, we're in the voice chat. If you don't have to, that's fine. But you can if you'd like. Nick says, nope, never again for me. I'll see you on YouTube. That's fine. You don't want to jump in the voice. That's okay. And folks, Nancy Pelosi absolutely hates the fact that they have named the Pelosi Act after her to stop insider trading in Congress and elected officials. The Pelosi Act passed in the House 8-7 today, and it still needs to go to the Senate. The Pelosi Act's progress exposes Washington's hypocrisy on insider trading. Let's hear what Donald Trump has to say about it.
I like it conceptually.
Well, let's see what he has to say about Pelosi.
I like it conceptually, and Nancy Pelosi became rich. I like it conceptually, and Nancy Pelosi became rich by having inside information. She made a fortune with her husband, and I think that's disgraceful. So in that sense, I'd like it, but I'd have to really see I study these things very carefully, and this just happened. So I'll take a look at it. But conceptually, I like it. And what I do think is Nancy Pelosi should be investigated because she has the highest return of anybody practically in the history of Wall Street, save a few. And how did that happen? It happened by she knows exactly what's going to happen, what's going to be announced. She buys stock, and then the stock goes up after the announcement's made. And she ought to be investigated.
She absolutely ought to be investigated. And I think that they're going to find that there was a plethora of insider trading. And Pelosi will spend the rest of her dirtbag years in prison for insider trading. Much like Martha Stewart spent some time in prison with Snoop Dogg. Joking, right? I digress. The advancement of the Pelosi Act, I said earlier on Twitter, is not just a win for transparency. It's an admission from even the most entrenched DC insiders that we, the people, won't tolerate their stock market games any longer. Banning lawmakers from trading stocks is not radical, folks. It is the bare minimum of integrity that we should demand. And this gives them a 180-day window to clean up their portfolios, and then also implements real penalties for violations. So this bill is actually threatening their gravy train that they've been riding on for so long. We need to call this what it is. It's just not about ethics. It's about survival. Voters are done watching politicians line their pockets with non-public material information while Main Street suffers. Pass this fucking bill. Enforce it without mercy. And watch, quote, public service transform from a Wall Street side hustle into actual service.
Say that we have an opportunity here today to do something that the public has wanted us to do for decades, and that is to ban members of Congress from profiting on information that, frankly, only members of Congress have in the buying and selling of stock. 86% of Americans say that members of Congress should not be able to buy and sell shares of stock, individual stock, while they are members of this body, and they are absolutely correct. And the reason is, you can see it, there was just another ethics referral in the House last week. We've seen the former Speaker of the House make millions of dollars in profits. We've seen members of both parties, I'm sad to say, be investigated for their stock trades. And the reason for all of this is that, quite frankly, members of this body are privy to information that the normal person just is not. Now, is that insider trading? It is not under the laws. Sometimes people say, well, we already have insider trading laws. We don't need a stock ban. Well, the information that members of Congress are privy to is technically not covered by the insider trading laws, but nobody really believes that the information that we get isn't valuable. It is quite valuable, which is why back during COVID, you saw members of Congress of both parties engage in a flurry of stock trading right after they were getting COVID briefings. Were members of the public getting those briefings? They were not. Were members of the public privy to the kind of information that was being given to members of Congress? No, they were not.
Of course not.
And so when you look at what members of Congress are privy to, what they are able to trade on, the access that they have, it's just qualitatively different.
They know the regulations they're about to pass, the business regulations, the laws, the financial regulations. They know exactly how it's going to affect each sector. The flurry of trading before the C-19 scam by these people in elected positions was because they understood exactly what was going to happen in the market. It's easy to know if you shut everything down, a lot of companies are going to hurt. This was downright crime and is criminal. And even though it's not insider trading because they're not getting the information from people in the company, it's insider trading of a different form because they understand amongst themselves what regulations they're about to pass and how that's going to affect certain industries. It's very, very simple stuff. But back to Dougie Cifu. Let's take a quick peek here and see. We got Hoffman on Twitter saying Mr. Cifu would spend his days posting inflammatory comments on Twitter, including false bravado with respect to the NWBO spoofing lawsuit, and openly discussing legal strategy with a Stat News reporter, which led to a suspension with the NHL. followed by a deactivation of his X account. And now today, we hear of his forced retirement. Mr. Cifu, aka Grifter Extraordinaire number 2, enjoy your forced retirement. May you find a more productive use of your time than spreading hate and false bravado. And in case you guys didn't know, let's switch accounts here over to Lit Exchange briefly. And I will show you about, in case you're unaware about the NWBO case, folks. NWBO is investigating via a lawsuit Virtu Financial, Citadel Securities, Susquehanna, and other Wall Street firms of driving down their stock price of Northwest Biotherapeutics through a series of illicit trades. That was filed December 1st of 2022, and the company is actually making great progress. Virtu and others had filed with the courts to dismiss the case, and the judge said, fuck no. There's way too much information here. There will be discovery in the case, and we are seeing much of that same thing happen with other companies like QNTM, Quantum Biopharma Therapeutics, and GNS, Genius Stock. So where Representative Anna Luna said if Congress doesn't do this now with a slim majority, it's never going to happen. Either way, this does not benefit the American people in regards to the congressional trading vote. And we completely agree, folks. But Dougie Cifu, check out what he said. I'll show you what I said about the guy. I actually have to go back and change. Oh, no, it'll pop back up. Okay. Doug Cifu said about retail investors and others. Not sure why I respond, but that's just complete nonsense. The lawsuit has as much merit as the MOAS nonsense in regards to NWBO and other stocks. He says it's a grift. NWBO is a grift, and the MOAS is a grift. We all filed a motion to dismiss, which was reported this week. Great country, as you can sue anyone you want, regardless of the merit. All horseshit. Guess what? That motion was denied. Doug talks a big game. This guy has such a big fucking head. He is such a narcissist that the liquidity fairy literally sends you bobbleheads of himself as part of the Virtu swag. That is who these people that we're dealing with. And I think this was Britt Burden over here, who said, studies show that 9 out of 10 men choose not to commit securities fraud. The 10th man, who has lack of reasonable information barrier issues, is likely named Dougie Cifu. Shout out to Britt on that one. Doug said to another retail investor, of course we didn't. Now here's the best free advice you'll ever get, lawyer to lawyer. Go find something productive to do or a paying client. These ridiculous market structure claims will result in nothing but Rule 11 sanctions. Remember, guys, these ridiculous market claims are the exact same thing that he admitted to time and time again. Oh, there's a few good ones in here as well. They're kind of hard to read. They're a little blurry even on my screen. I can't really read most of them. It's a low-quality PDF or a low-quality image file. But you can see that Doug Cifu said...
And his 200 shares on NASDAQ in New York, we fill out 1,000 shares at that inside price. That's meaningful liquidity. 55% of the orders that we received, Bob, we provide size improvement. In a complete, as he calls it, an auction environment, who's going to provide that? The liquidity fairy?
That's Doug Cifu complaining about the Securities and Exchange Commission switching to an auction environment, because then they would not be able to pay as the top bidder for your trades from your brokerages. But unfortunately, the auction has not been implemented yet. So up until now, Doug Cifu and Ken Griffin, Virtu, Citadel, market makers like Susquehanna, Jane Street, Wolverine, etc., can buy your orders directly from your brokerage, from Robinhood, from Webull, from Fidelity. If you say that Fidelity does not accept Payment for order flow, you are wrong. From Charles Schwab, from IBKR, and I could just go on and on and on and give you more examples. All of these brokerages allow your trades to be front run by the market maker because they sell it to the market maker, the wholesaler, to internalize the trade, to trade it in a dark pool. And that prevents the stock prices from moving as they should. See, so we got George's already point of view. Doug Cifu out of Virtu says stock retail. 3 thoughts come to mind. Should not absolve Virtu of criminal and civil liabilities. 2, I hope far more accountability is coming for Dougie. And 3, reminder that the good cop, bad cop routine is a thing. Just a nod to history. Good luck to Dougie's crew. Scoot this over so you can see it a little better. Cifu was engaged in a months-long spat with now FHFA director Bill Pulte, who was pushing for a sale. The company separately reported second quarter earnings. That is correct. You guys remember that fucking hot mess too? Doug Cifu, Virtu Financial's predatory CEO who spent years harassing retail investors online, has retired. The devil is gone, replaced with another. Dougie Fresh, Doug Cifu, got bounced from his own company he founded, says Cornelius. Salvatore says, you stupid podgy foreheadosaurus. Fuck Doug Cifu and his shill cheerleaders. You're all broke, useless individuals with the weakest bloodlines. Doug can't even come back to X without making a new handle. Disgraced Doug has been disowned. Holy shit. Retail investors love Virtu, but almost as much as they love Robinhood and the little boy from Bulgaria, Vlad Tenev, huh? Whistleblower against Virtu and Doug Cifu in February 2020 accusing the SEC of facilitating market manipulation and Virtu of being a criminal enterprise. Yeah, I would say that, considering pensions are accusing him of stealing $400 million from Virtu investors. Wow. Frank Nez, massive market maker, now announces retirement of CEO Doug Cifu. Yes, he does. More than machine. Actually, I saw Doug Cifu admit to being the liquidity fairy on live television. Infinite liquidity, Doug Cifu. X Market says Virtu Financial CEO Doug, lawyers are sending out cease and desist letters to retail investors. This was in August of 2024. We demand that you immediately we demand that you immediately cease making such false statements about Mr. Cifu, or we will hold you fully responsible for those injuries to Mr. Cifu's reputation. Oh, wow. So, many fuses lit. Doug Cifu, the infinite liquidity fairy, must be out of that magic dust, because there's no shares available to short for 3 days in regards to AMC, when the price was up 15% in one day, and the AMC ask was $138 versus a $5.12 bid. That is what happens when you have price discovery. When there are no shares available in the dark pools, when there are no shares available to be given from a market maker, pulling them out of thin air, trading them in the dark pools, selling shares that they don't own, and there's not enough, well, the stock price might go from $5.12 to $138 ask. That's how there's a spread of $132.88. That spread is big because there were no shares. And instead of market makers giving out synthetic shares, pulling them out of thin air, I got to follow this guy back. I don't understand how I wasn't following him already. Wayward Ape at Wayward Bull, good find. Doug Cifu, the infinite liquidity fairy, out of that magic dust. When they don't have the algorithm running at optimal speed and doing the things it's supposed to do to prevent the prices in the stock market from moving, you have a bid-ask spread of $133 fucking dollars, folks. Where the bid is $5.12, there's no shares available, and you have a $138 ask. This is the power of lit markets. Because when you take shares out of the dark pools, when you stop using payment for order flow brokerages, real price discovery happens. Does that make sense? Real price discovery. The real price of shares is as easy as stopping using payment for order flow brokerages. And the fucked up thing is, all brokerages are using payment for order flow. All of them. But there's only one that is going to avoid payment for order flow. The upcoming stock and crypto brokerage, Lit Exchange. Really, that simple. And I didn't make that up out of nowhere. I was just scrolling down when I was searching for the notifications in regards to what people were saying about Doug Cifu. But you can go to lootexchange.com, learn more about the company. You can join, become a founder, and for the first time in the history of the world, actually own equity, shares, and perks and benefits in an upcoming stock and crypto brokerage before it launches, before it IPOs. And so far, there are over 400 plus retail investors that have invested nearly $1 million in the company. Because this is for retail, by retail. You understand? This is going to reinvent brokerage as the first viable competitor to smart money brokers like Fidelity, Schwab, and Robinhood. This company is poised to disrupt the status quo of the entire $3.6 trillion a year financial industry. And if you don't want to hear this, then you can go ahead and continue to buy and hold and cry and complain about the bullshit going on in the markets and the manipulation going on in the markets. If you don't like that we're actually doing something and have been working for the last 4 years to get to this point to where this company's ready to launch, well, folks, you can continue to do what it is that you were already doing. And don't come fucking crying to me that your shares are being manipulated, that your stocks are being manipulated. Because not only do we present the problem, but we actually offer real solutions. That was the whole purposes of creating this company. And I never had any interest in creating any company in the financial industry. I do have over 20 years experience in brokerage, in real estate brokerage, in freight brokerage, and now stock and crypto brokerage with the upcoming exchange, the upcoming retail investor company, Lit Exchange. Okay? It's really as simple as that. My co-founder and I collectively have over 40 years experience in building and scaling companies. This is going to save retail investor money, avoid hidden markups, fees, and market manipulation by avoiding payment for order flow from dark pools and wholesalers. And there are literally thousands and thousands of users already enrolled on our waitlist, waiting for us to launch, to bring their assets under management, to begin using the software, the likes of which does not currently exist. AI is going to help you in ways that you don't even know, and you don't even have to do anything. It's going to automatically help you. This is the first viable company being created for retail, by retail, to challenge the market-making industry, which exceeds $580 billion a day. $580 billion per day. Think about that. So you can become a founder if you'd like to invest in the company for the first time in the history of the world under the Regulation C Act, Jobs Act of 2012. You can also learn more at litexchange.com. And if you don't want to become a founder, you can input your email and join the waiting list. Cheers, folks. I think I've said enough. Just so you know, this raise does end August 9th. August 9th is the last day. Here it is. The raise end date is August 9th of 2025, August 9th of 2025. You can view the pitch deck, the business plan, the auditor's reports, offering memorandums, the SEC filings on secedgar.com. They're all linked here as well. And you can get a lot more information about Lit Exchange and the company and really do your due diligence to see if it's something that you'd like to invest in. So with that being said, folks, I wish you peace and wealth. You can read the fucking hat for yourself. DJ T Style says Lit's got to extend the investing window to September. I mean, Lit could literally cause MOAS across the board, says Angel. Cifu is just a fairy, says Tubby. In Australia, we do have founders from around the world, my friend. We do have founders from Europe, Asia, North America, South America, Central America. I think the only place we don't have investors from yet is Antarctica. But first, the Lit Exchange plans to launch in the United States and then branch out into Europe and Asia as well. And you can find us on Yahoo Finance and stuff like that as well. You can Google Lit Exchange. You'll find us on Market Watch, Yahoo Finance, and many others, because this is, in fact, big news, folks. And DJ, I'll see what we can do about possibly extending the investment window, but as of right now, it is set to end August 9th of 2025. So if you want to, get in while you can. Make sure you do your due diligence. This is not financial advice of any sort. All right, folks, this video's gone on long enough. Have a great rest of your day. I'm going to go have a laugh and have a little coffee and think about how this fucking idiot Doug Cifu managed to retire himself and wither away into absolute nothingness. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.